Hi guys, Amber here. Welcome back to another episode of In Conversation with ATF. My guest today is a voice actor who is known for voicing Spider-Man in The Spectacular Spider-Man, Jack Darby in Transformers Prime, Jules Brown in Back to the Future the Animated Series, Linus Van Pelt in Snoopy's Reunion, young Hercules in Hercules, the Disney movie, and also the animated storybook video game as well. Green Lantern in a lot of Batman Lego media, and lots more. My guest is Josh Keaton. And he's a gamer as well. Josh
Oh,
Keaton!
yes. Hey, how's it going? It's nice to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. I mean, I've wanted to talk to you for a long time, not just because of your run-ins with people and your animated shows that you've done, but also because of
Sure.
your gaming career and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm glad that we could finally get a chance to connect.
Yeah, definitely. I've known you for months and stuff, and I remember that thing that happened on Twitter, the whole rumor situation that sort of spiraled that you were going to be the voice of Sonic, but that was just a lie
Yeah,
that someone told me. He's known
yeah.
for saying a lot of fake things. I was like,
Oh, that's so
is
funny.
he?
I
Are
was
you
so
sure?
scared that Roger was going to call me and say, "Hey, is there something you want to tell me?" And I'd be like, "No,
Oh
no, I
no. Well,
swear."
he ended up returning to Sonic a few months later, so it's all good.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that guy, Roger Craig Smith. He's a
Yeah.
very talented voice actor. I actually just I worked with him on Arcane, which is out right now, and we just kind of got a chance to hang out again and catch up at the Arcane event that Riot put on. I think it was like, was it 2 weeks ago already? Yeah, I think it was about two
I
weeks ago.
think so. I
Because
haven't heard of it.
he used to live out here, and he just moved to, well, not just, but about a few months ago moved to Idaho, relocated and built a
Oh
studio.
really?
Yeah. So we were actually talking
Wow.
about that because I've been thinking about relocating, and yeah. It's different, you know. Like I grew up out here in Southern California, and it's kind of all I know. I've traveled, but in terms of like actually living somewhere else, aside from like when I used to do on camera work, and I'd go and film on location for a month, and so you'd live somewhere for a month. Aside from that, I really haven't lived anywhere, so it's a bit. It would be a big change, but with COVID and everything went so remote that you can kind of do this from anywhere. So the
Yeah.
possibilities have opened up, and I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about it for sure.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Oh, and here's another character you voiced. You voiced
Yes.
Commander Takashi Shiro,
Shiro. Yeah, Shiro.
Shiro Gain in Voltron Legendary Defender.
Shirogane. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that's a good one. Yeah, well, always that was that. It's got that didn't toy on my
One of my
mind.
one of my favorite characters I've ever played. I'd say that my two favorite characters that I've ever had the privilege to voice would be. Oh, I almost knocked my earbud out. Would be Spider-Man and Shiro.
Wow, and on Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man that is,
Yes.
you've portrayed like, excuse me, I've just said that wrong. That's completely gone, just completely out of my mouth, just wrong. You came back. You portrayed Spider-Man again in, was it the Marvel What If
I
series?
was not Spider-Man in Marvel What If. I was Captain America and skinny Steve Rogers in Marvel What If. But again, since we were talking about rumors, there was a huge rumor that was circulating all over social media that I was going to come back and return as Spider-Man in What If. Even though
Oh
What If,
yeah, it was a rumor. Sorry, I saw it on
yeah,
Twitter. I
no,
completely forgot what it
it's
was.
a very canonically MCU show. So my Spider-Man is not MCU. It'd be awesome if it was, but it,
Yeah.
it wasn't. So like the fact that so many fans just totally psyched themselves up, or hype themselves up, psych themselves out. Yeah, there we go. Hype themselves up, psych themselves out that I was going to be Spider-Man in the show. And then when the show finally aired, there was like, I don't want to say rage, but there was like, oh, he wasn't Spider-Man. And I was like, I didn't say anything. I never confirmed. I never denied. I never even commented on it. I'm like, you guys did this to yourselves.
They all love you.
I
They
take
all
no
love you, Josh.
responsibility for it.
They love
But
you
yeah,
so
I
much
mean,
you wanted to return.
I get it. I get it. And I mean, that warms my heart. I mean, that show's been off the air for over 10 years. Over 10 years.
12.
And yeah, and the fact that like I'd say
2009.
earlier this year, I think earlier this year, Save Spectacular Spider-Man trended number 9 worldwide. And for like a show to still have that kind of following and that kind of a dedicated fan base over a decade after it went off the air is pretty incredible. So hey, I can understand the fan disappointment. I'm always disappointed when I can't be Spider-Man, but what are you gonna do? It is what it
Yeah.
is. It's the Parker luck,
It's
and
down to the staff at the
yes,
companies and stuff like that. But
yes,
if they would have good taste if they picked you, definitely.
I can't disagree with you
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
at the risk of sounding modest.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I'm having a look at the cast list for Spectacular Spider-Man. This has toyed in my mind now. I saw you starting out with three of your future Transformers Prime cast members.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Kevin Michael Richardson, Darren Norris, and Steve Bloom.
That's right. That's right.
Wow, that's so
And that
cool.
was my first time working with all of them. I had never met them before that show. So
Wow.
yeah, that was the beginning of some beautiful friendships. I
What,
did
what,
did it this time. I actually knocked my own earbud
what
out.
was it like to sort of, see them again like a year or two to do Transformers Prime?
Well, the thing is that like there was a little bit of overlap. Well, no, there wasn't overlap. I'm trying to think. This was a long time ago, so I'm like trying to make sure I get my time
It's
frames
okay.
right.
It's
I
okay.
want to say that there wasn't a lot of time that passed between the end of Spectacular Spider-Man and the start of recording for Transformers Prime. Plus, I'd also seen them on other guest voice jobs or
Yeah.
not auditions, but just certain events that I would see them at conventions and whatnot. So we never really fell out of touch. It was more like I'd get onto the set and I'd be like, "Hey, how's it going? You're on this. Sweet, sweet," and then we'd go from there.
That's lovely. Let me just adjust my zoom a little bit. Let's just take that up there, move that all around. That's better. That's better. I was just gonna say because usually I'm looking down at the screen instead of up there. So yeah,
I'm
that's
still
that's.
kind of figuring it all out, like because I have two monitors here for Twitch streaming and gaming.
Oh, well, that's cool.
I'm always trying to see, okay, should I put it down on this one? But now I'm looking at you, but it looks like I'm looking down. But if I put it up here on this one, then my face is up and you're more.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Technology.
yeah, of course, of course. We all have our own problems with it. Um, Here's a good question. How did you get the role of Jack Darby on Transformers Prime? It was the start of probably one of the biggest television shows in Transformers history, and wow,
Yeah.
how
Yeah, I
popular
mean,
is
basically,
it?
it was an audition just like any other job. Basically, the way it works is that every voice actor, at least in union work, I don't know really how it works for more independent and non-union stuff, but for union work, you'll have an agent, and your agent basically represents you. They'll find you work, and they'll find you auditions, and then it's up to you to get the work.
Yeah,
So what happens is that the companies that are producing the show will hire casting people who will then go and go through the entire show and break down the characters. So they'll kind of make a list of all the characters. They'll do what's called a breakdown, which is like a character description. Sometimes they'll include a picture. Most of the time they don't. And then they'll send that out to all the agents that they know. And then the agents will kind of look through this breakdown of characters and say, okay, this person would be good for this. Josh Keaton would be good for this. They compile kind of like a little
yeah.
a list of who would be right for everything. And then they send that audition out to those people. And
Wow.
so I basically got the audition for it. And and I think for Transformers Prime, I think they actually did include a character drawing of Jack Darby. This was before social media was at its, I guess, like it's kind of at
Peak.
its zenith right now. So like yeah, I mean there wasn't as much thought given to leaks or things like that. So it was what it was. They sent out a character description, they sent out a picture, and then basically I recorded the first audition. I think it was from here. I think. Well, I don't think I was living in this house yet. I think we were in a like a smaller apartment, and I can't remember if I actually auditioned from home or if I was still going into my agents to record. Because before I had a studio here at the house, I would basically go to my agent's office to record because they had studios there, and then you would kind of record your audition. I want to say I still did that. I want to say I went in to record, and so did that audition. Found out that I got a callback, which is kind of like the first round of cuts. So they'll listen to all the auditions. They'll choose their favorites from that. They'll call those people back, and that'll be usually a directed callback. So They'll usually have you go to the studio, and you have your appointment time and all that. And they'll have the voice director kind of work with you and have you try things different ways just to see if you can be directed, and or if you're just like locked into the one way you did it at the audition. And then from that, they basically make their next round of cuts. And sometimes they'll have a third callback. Sometimes they'll just cast from that. I want to say they probably had a third callback. Usually, when it's like a series lead in a big show that's already been bought for a lot of episodes, they kind of do their due diligence and have big, third callbacks and all of that. That's I want to say that's what they did with Voltron as well. And then yeah, and I got the role that way. It was Jamie Simone was the casting person and the director, and well, actually, Sue Blue started out directing it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
indeed.
and
And then her
yeah,
wife passed away from cancer, and then she
yes,
had to leave.
and then Jamie took over, but he was the casting person for it, and I've known Jamie for a really long time. But yeah, I mean that was pretty much it. That's kind of the story for how most auditions go, even today. Except for the whole going into my agent's office to read. Now I behind
Yeah.
this is just like a white paper backdrop, and behind this backdrop is my booth, my studio. Well, my booth, and then my studio is kind of right in front of me. So yeah, so I mean, I just do my auditions from here. I email them, and then they make their first round of decisions from that.
Wow, that sounds such a simple job. Sorry if I do slip up on my words. Sometimes I'm just
No worries.
not
I do it all the
focusing.
time.
Yeah. Well, what's going on? I keep getting notifications. Let me just turn those off. Um, I've got a list of just topics just listed here, and I don't know where to start. Honestly, wow, it's just how did you start out as a child actor? Because I know there's a few people who started out as child actors. I mean, you got
Yes.
Tora Strong, you got Cree Summer. With you, you started out in the 80s, I believe, because you were in an episode of The Real Ghostbusters, then you were in Captain Planet and the Planeteers, then Back to the Future, the animated series. So how did you first get your start, and how has it managed to continue until you're an adult? Because most
Well,
child stars usually just fade out.
yeah, I mean, I think that probably one of the reasons that I was able to make the transition to being an adult actor is because I never really hit it big as a child actor. I feel like if you're a child actor and you really make it big, at some point you really are just being hired for your personality. You're really just being hired to do this one shtick, and then once people are tired of that, if you haven't been working at your craft and can be versatile, then that's kind of people have seen that and they want to see something new, and if you aren't able to adapt, then you're gonna kind of hit a wall. You're gonna get depressed. I was friends with a lot of child actors who did make it big, and then they ended up going through that and turning to other things, getting involved with bad crowds, getting into drugs, and just everything kind of fell apart from there. Whereas with me, like I never really was a child star, so there was always still the need to continue growing and working and figuring out new things and trying new things and all of that. As for how I got my start, I have an older sister. I have three sisters, but my older sister used to do like these beauty pageants, and most beauty pageants pretty much in general are a scam, especially like for like kids. And what it is, it's like it's always somebody's friend that wins, or depending on how many of the subcategories, because you have to pay to enter each one. So whatever, depending on like Miss Photogenic or Miss Sunshine or Miss whatever, like depending on how many of those categories you enter, so basically how much money you spend on the pageant, that's kind of what they pick their winners from. But the one thing that you really can't fudge is the talent competition. Because if somebody is objectively and noticeably better than other people at a talent, but then somebody comes in and wins, it's going to look kind of fishy.
Yeah.
So my sister was a singer, and she was very good for her age, and so she would enter these talent competitions, and she would win. And she got a talent agent from that, like a commercial agent. And so what ended up happening is I was a very precocious kid, so I would basically just go and I would talk to adults. I had like perfect pronunciation for my age, and I used lots of big words, and I was like fearless. I just went up and I talked to anybody. So my sister was at like a commercial audition, and my dad had to work like two, three jobs. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so my mom would just schlep my sister around to these auditions, and I would have to go in tow because, nobody was there to watch me at home. So I was in the waiting room for this audition, and I just started chatting up the casting lady and talking to her and saying all kinds of silly things because I was a kid. I was, I don't know, 4, and I ended up getting pulled in to audition for this thing, even though I wasn't technically there for it. And I ended up booking this commercial, which I wasn't even there to audition for. My sister didn't book it. She
How mad
probably
was she?
probably hates me for that. But yeah, I mean that it just kind of went from there. I kind of excuse me. I I did just a lot of different things in the industry. We did extra work. We did all the stuff that you do when you're just kind of starting out,
Yeah.
and just kind of went from there and ended up doing guest roles and things and small student films, independent films, and just kind of did that and started working my way through different agents, better agents, agents that were more involved in other parts of the business besides commercials, and yeah, and so I started getting sent out on voice roles, and it just kind of went from there. Now, when you're a kid, there really aren't a whole lot of opportunities for voice acting. At least at this time, it's changed a lot since then. But at this time, there weren't a ton of opportunities for kids to be voice actors because they would just use adults that could sound like kids because they're easier to direct and can work longer hours and all of that. So there were, I think the jobs that you said were pretty much everything. There was Peter Pan and the Pirates as well. But
Oh yeah, that sorry, I forgot
no,
completely
that's
forget
okay.
me.
But aside from that, like that's pretty much the extent of my voice work because at that time because they hired kids. Peanuts was very strict about using actual children to do children's voices. Like they were one of the standouts for that. But other than that, that was kind of what I did, and it wasn't until I was probably about 15 or 16 when I did Hercules that I got just a dedicated voiceover agent who just handled voiceover and who introduced me into all these other facets of the voiceover industry like promo work and radio commercials, things like that, narration, trailers, just all kinds of stuff. Because before that, I had really only auditioned for animated stuff, just like cartoons. And video game acting wasn't even a thing at that time because they didn't even have there were no cutscenes in video games. Like the closest thing you got to a cutscene was like a pre-rendered still image, and you would have like a slideshow with text under it. But the games just didn't have enough memory to put voice into it. So it wasn't until I don't even know what year, but I think one of the first things I did was Psychonauts, the first Psychonauts, and that was probably one of my earliest roles. There was also a Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I want to say, where they just would have small stuff. And Metal Gear Solid was actually kind of groundbreaking in terms of having pretty much an entire drama, an entire story, like a cinematic movie as part of the game. That was one of the earliest ones that had such a complete story. Before that, it was just like little cutscenes here and there, if that. So yeah. So once that started, I mean, I was really excited about auditioning for video games because that's all I ever wanted to do was play video games when I was at home. When my sister would go do these beauty pageants, I would bring my Nintendo and I would just be in the hotel room, and I would always find a way to hook it up to the hotel TV. They even had like these little locks on the cables because back then they didn't have HDMI cables. It was either RCA cables, which are the red, yellow, and white three cables, or more commonly they would have the coax cable, which is like the thing that you use for cable modems now, and that's how you got TV. And they would have these like little locks on it that would keep you from being able to unscrew that unless you had like a special tool. I figured out how to do it, and so like even if it was locked, I would always find a way to hook up my Nintendo to the TV, and I'd just spend that whole weekend she was at the pageant just playing video games, playing Super Mario.
That's cool. Actually, I've got to ask you, what's your favorite console? It can be Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, Microsoft.
Um,
What's your favorite?
it's tough because like I like games on every single one. I can't. It's hard for me to choose a console. I have a PS5 now. That's the thing I play the most. PS5 and PS4. I have an Xbox One that I
I do
forget.
too. It's there.
I forget I have it, and so the only reason I even really use it at this point is for media, because it's just better for media. It works with my universal remote, because that's the one thing that sucks about the PlayStation is that even though it can do Bluetooth control and everything, I have like a Logitech universal remote that just handles everything, and it doesn't communicate with the PS5. Like it just won't communicate with it, which is ridiculous. It's silly. So the only way I can actually control media and be able to fast forward and do all that with one remote is if I use my Xbox. So I use that for media, and then I just play everything on the PlayStation. But I really like I like the Sega Dreamcast. The Sega Dreamcast, I have so
I
many
do
memories from.
too.
It was a great system. It was a great system, and I actually bought that because of Resident Evil, because
I
I
do
was such a
too.
Resident Evil junkie that Resident Evil Code Veronica came out on the Dreamcast, and so I had to buy the Dreamcast just for that game. And then once I got that system, then I just saw how many other great games were on there. Hydro Thunder, which was a boat racing game, amazing boat racing game. SF Rush 2049, which was like it was like a racing game, but then it also had this stunt mode, which was it was kind of like if you take like Rocket League, but where it's not about soccer, it's just about doing the tricks. There was this game called Typing of the Dead, Typing of the Dead, which was a spin-off of this game called House of the Dead, which was an arcade shooter
Heard
game.
that before.
And instead of actually having to shoot with the guns, you would have to use like keyboard controllers, and it's to target and shoot the enemies. They would pop up like these little phrases that you would have to type, and the further on you got in the game, the harder and more archaic and just weird these phrases would be. None of them would make any sense. Like, you know how you see the placeholder text that you see for like fonts where it's like ipsum lorem or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
There'd be some variation like that where it was words that you wouldn't necessarily know and letters that don't usually go together and weird spacing and all of that. And so when you were fighting a boss, it would just be like little mini paragraphs of stuff you'd have to type, and if you didn't type it fast enough, then you would start getting hit as if you weren't shooting fast enough. But that was an amazing game, and I still have those keyboard controllers somewhere. What else? What else did I like on that? Crazy Taxi. Oh
I
man,
have that
Crazy
on my
Taxi.
Xbox One.
Yeah, yeah. Crazy Taxi was amazing. Yeah, I have so many great memories from
Sonic Adventure.
Sonic Adventure.
I
That
have
was a
that. I
great
have that on the Dreamcast and my Xbox.
Shenmue. Yeah,
Yeah,
just so many great
as
games.
well.
So many great games.
What's another good one? I'm trying to think now. I've put myself on the spot.
I like the
Oh,
N64. The N64 was when I played GoldenEye for the
have you
first
played
time.
Banjo Kazooie?
I have played Banjo-Kazooie.
Yes,
For
yes, yes. They're getting a Switch port. They're getting a Switch port as part of the you know how they do like a they do like a sort of a thing for online users, like it's all a collection of SNES games. They're doing
yes.
a pack of Sega Genesis ones and Nintendo 64 on Banjo Kazooie is in the Nintendo 64 pack.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I
That's
know,
fantastic.
yeah. I got all the achievements for Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie as well.
I'm one of those people that have like the emulated games that you shouldn't be able to obtain, like
Yes,
the less than legitimate kind. So I have
I
like
got a
all
couple.
of them. But I'm still supporting, like I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
support. So I
Same
like
with
to
me.
have it on the Switch, then I can actually play it
Yeah,
on the TV without having to go and like try to
yeah.
cast my computer screen to it and all of that. I actually think that it wouldn't be too hard because I think that my big TV can uh, can be cast to with AirPlay. I mean, yeah, I can, but then I'd have to find a way to interface it, and this is all different rooms, so it's easier. If I don't want to sit in front of my computer and play the games, I can have them on the Switch and just do it that way.
Have you ever played Parappa the Rapper?
Of course, yeah.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Fun. It's all in the mind. If you want to test me, I'm sure you're fine.
The things will teach you. Sure to beat
Yes.
you. I sung that at karaoke the other night.
They had it for karaoke?
Well, we had a parent evening at my college, and we were doing karaoke, and you could just put any song in. You just put it on YouTube, and me and
Oh,
my
okay.
friends sung the Chop Chop Master Onion rap.
Oh, that's
In
amazing.
that case, I've got two things I want to tell you.
Okay.
The first thing is, I've cosplayed as Parappa before.
Fantastic.
I
Did
cos
How many people recognized you? Because that's a
Not a
pretty
lot of people recognise me actually. I know. I'm not. Have you ever heard of the voice actor Carlos Ferro, who was Dominic Santiago in Gears of War?
I have not. I have not.
Well, he voiced Dominic Santiago in Gears of War. He recognised my cosplay.
That's awesome.
I was like, "Oh my god, yes!" And after find a
That's a
photo.
true gamer right there.
I know, definitely. Here I am as Parappa. This is just best image of me.
That's awesome. That's a great cosplay. I
I
love
know.
it.
I've still got the beanie down here actually, and I've got too much stuff in my room. But here you go. There's the beanie with the ears.
Fantastic. We got Parappa in the house.
I know. I love this so much. I am planning on interviewing Dread Fox, who voiced Parappa, at some point, and I've interviewed Rue Waterby, who voices Chop Chop Master Onion and Marsan and Jamalami, along with Captain Foos and Pepper and Joe Chin. Basically, Parappa is like my comfort game. Have you ever played the spin-off Jamalami?
No, I haven't. I've heard of it, but I never played it.
It's good. It's really
It's a good one?
Yeah,
Awesome.
definitely. It's basically like Parappa the Rapper meets Guitar Hero.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I
Yeah.
just love Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and my favorite was the drums. Beatles Rock Band was awesome.
Wow.
Beatles Rock Band actually like they had a guitar, not a guitar. They had a drum trainer where it actually like broke down all of the drum riffs and all of the different beats that the Beatles did. And I mean, obviously you're not playing a real drum kit, so you know you don't really get the full experience. But in terms of just the hand and foot separation and being able to like learn the groove, I feel like it was a really good tutor. Like in terms of, I mean, I produce music here, and in terms of like what I have a drum machine and all of that, my just the way that my head would wrap around beats and stuff absolutely was improved by using that drum trainer. So yeah, no, I mean, if anybody has access to the Rock Band drums, absolutely get them. They're great, and that Beatles Rock Band drum trainer is
That's
fantastic.
a good recommendation. That I fully agree with you. I was just gonna ask. I was gonna say something. But I've completely. Oh yeah. Have you ever heard of a British show called The In-Betweeners?
I have. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so the guy who plays Jay in it, James Buckley, he runs a Twitch channel called Completed It May, because it's a quote from In-Betweeners. He was at Liverpool Comic Con as well, and he recognised my Parappa cosplay.
That's awesome.
And we just talked about Parappa for like the longest time. You know what? I'm gonna try and get him for this show. You've inspired me because I feel
You
as if
should. You
I've got
absolutely
to get him
should.
for my show now. Definitely.
Yeah,
Wow. Well, I have your full endorsement, so that is one thing.
you do. You absolutely do.
Wonderful. Right, what else is there on my notes? I've always got got a thing on my notes. Right, hold on. Here's a good one. What were the recording sessions like for Transformers Prime?
It was pretty much standard fare in terms of recording. The way it works is you would go into a studio, a big studio, and they would have a bunch of mics set up kind of in a, not really a semicircle, I guess it was kind of like a squared off U shape. So there'd be
Yeah.
mics here, and then the control room would be like here. But
And you're
imagine.
recorded together on like
And
a
you're all
lot of
recording
shows
together? Yeah.
recorded separately now. I mean, the original Transformers cartoon, everyone recorded together, so that is
Yeah.
one similarity that they share. Not just
So like if like and keep in mind this it's this way. I'm just kind of doing it this way. This is from the top.
yeah.
So like this is the back and this is like the front where the control room window is.
Yeah.
And so Peter and Frank would always be, oh no, I'm mirrored. Peter and Frank would always be on this side. I would always be on this side so I could like watch them. And then I want to say Kevin was always kind of in the corner sitting down. Kevin would sit down to record. And so the three kids would always be kind of next to each other. I'd be next to Tanya, who played Miko.
I love
and
Tanya. I've interviewed her as well.
Yeah,
I've interviewed
she's great.
Susan Blue as well.
Oh, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yes. They would be kind of next to me on either side. And yeah, we would just go. We would just go and we'd go through the episode, and Peter and Frank would be making jokes and busting into different impressions, and it was a lot of fun. Like and the other thing is that Sumali, who played RC, it was her very first voiceover gig, and
Oh,
she
was it?
yeah, she hit the ground running. She really knocked it out of the park. But it was funny because like she always like felt like she looked up to me, and I was like, why do you look up to me? Like, you got Frank and Peter right here. Like, who am I? You know? Like, I've been Spider-Man, cool, but like, and so I didn't feel worthy of the praise. But we ended up having a really really good dynamic. You know, our families are friends, and she named her son Jack. It was a great experience all around. Like, I made so many close friends on that show, and got to work with two of my heroes. And you know how they always say never meet your heroes and all of that. Well, I met my heroes, and they were actually nicer in person than I could have ever imagined. So it was a win for that, and
I'm so happy for you.
it was nice. It was, and then just as being part of the show, like, everybody was kind of familiar. You know, we would all talk about our histories and stuff like that, and you know, I talked about the fact that I never got an Optimus Prime because, you know, we weren't rich, and those were expensive toys, and my parents couldn't afford one, so I never had an Optimus Prime even though I wanted one. And at a BotCon, I actually had Peter Cullen present me with an Optimus Prime, which is like,
Oh,
I mean, that was the greatest thing ever. I probably looked like a 5-year-old going up there and accepting an Optimus Prime from Optimus Prime.
oh, that's so
One of the
sweet.
one of the greatest moments of my life.
Oh, oh, that's so adorable. Oh, right. Speaking of like children, obviously on the set. I mean, Andy Pessoa, I mean, he was born in 94, wasn't he? So he would have been about 15, 16 when he started recording.
I watched him grow up on that show because he's
He's
probably about that.
27 now.
Probably about no, he's not. He's not 20. Oh my god, he is 27.
Yes. 10 years older than me, just like my brother.
He's probably about this much taller than me now. And when we first started working together, like, he was like a kid. Like, I towered over him, and I literally watched him just sprout up into a man.
Oh
It was crazy.
wow. I'm looking at pictures of him now. Wow, he looks so grown up. Oh no, he was born in 1995. So he would have been about 15 or 14 when he started recording.
I can't believe that, man. Time flies.
Oh,
Appreciate
I agree.
what's
I
happening in
agree.
your life, because you will look back in 10 years and not even know where that 10 years went. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm as old as I am. I don't feel like that was that long ago. And then when I really think about it, and you really kind of take stock of how much time has passed by looking at other people, because you see yourself every day. So you look in the mirror every day. So you see the very, very slow, gradual transition, and so you don't really see yourself aging or see yourself changing, but you see it in other people. So, like, if there's somebody that you haven't seen in 2 or 3 years and you see them, there's a big difference, and you're like, whoa.
It's sad, isn't it? You think, yeah, life is, going, oh, this is too fast and stuff
It
like
is a
that.
little depressing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you have to really enjoy every moment, because,
I agree. Live life to the fullest.
yeah.
I always say, just do things that, oh yeah, if you want to dare to do it. Honestly, you've got nothing to lose, of course.
Yeah.
Speaking of like kids on the set and stuff, after you told me Summerlee named her son Jack after Jack Darby? Is that
Yes.
true? Wow.
Jack.
Did Summerlee ever... Okay, I'm unable to interview Summerlee at the moment because of her busy schedule. I've checked in with her twice, and every time her schedule's quite busy. Summerlee.
Oh, Somalia, yeah.
Somali. I'm
That's okay.
Somali. Right. Oh my gosh.
She actually, because
a fool now.
a lot of people have had trouble, like, pronouncing her name when they just saw it. So she actually, I want to say she had a social media account where it was spelled Sue, S-U-E, and then Molly, M-O-L-L-Y. Just so people,
Right. Okay. So,
yeah.
so Somali's unavailable, unfortunately. Because I believe her son was born around 2012-ish, and I think your daughter was born around the same time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think they're about a year apart.
Did they ever go to any recording sessions for Transformers Prime?
That was well after my daughter, or that was over well before my daughter was born.
I see.
Yeah. Like, usually the stuff records about a couple of years ahead.
I see.
So yeah, so by the time those last episodes were airing, we had already finished recording that a long time before.
Oh, I see. Okay.
My daughter's done some voiceover work herself, though.
I was just gonna mention Lola Keaton. She's just starting out in voiceover, isn't she?
Yeah, she did an episode of a show called The Fungies on HBO Max, and then she did an episode of a show called Summer Camp Island, which I think is on Cartoon Network. But yeah, it was really cool. It was very cool to get to be in the booth with her and have to set up the mic for her. She does auditions now, and Angelo does too. It's crazy.
Oh, Angelo's a voice actor as well.
Yeah.
This reminds me, there's a lot of little kids following in their parents' footsteps. I mean, Carlos Rocky's daughter Riley, she's now in Star Trek Prodigy. Grady Lyle's son and daughter, Harlan and Posey, they're now voice actors. I know her older son, Tex, is now retired a voice actor. But I've noticed that a lot. A lot of voice actors' kids are starting to get into the business. Like,
Well, I mean, they're around it all the time,
do your
so it's
children want to specifically follow in your footsteps? What did they ask? How did they get
I
the
don't
first
I
job?
don't know if they want to, and it's not something that I really want to push them into do. It's kind of
Of
like
course, yeah,
I, and I told
I
them,
heard that a lot, yeah.
yeah, I've told them, I'm like, the minute this stops being fun for you, tell me, because I don't. I've told them, I'm like, you're not going to make me mad. I'm not going to love you any less. You're not going to disappoint me. I don't want you to do this just because you think it makes me happy. I want you to do it because you enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then you don't have to do it. Like, it's not going to affect me in any way. And I'll tell them, the reason I even started you doing this is because, it's something that's easy for you to do from here because I already have the equipment for it. I can help you with this stuff. You can save money for college and for your life, but it's not something that you have to do. Like and so I've made sure to stress that a lot. And I mean, but they're kids. They want to make you happy. So it's like, I know that they hear me, but on some level, I think they probably think that they still need to do it. So I always make sure that they know that they don't have to do it.
Yeah, I've just found your daughter's IMDb page, Lola Valentina Keaton.
Yes,
Wow. You must be such a proud father, honestly.
I
Hey,
am. I am.
in a few years when they get a few more roles under their belts, maybe Lola and Angelo could do an episode of my show with you.
Absolutely. That'd be
That would be
awesome.
fun. I'm having
Awesome.
a look. Are they on? What's Angelo done? Because I haven't been able
Oh,
to
he hasn't
find.
he hasn't been on anything yet. He's just
Oh,
auditioned.
right.
Yeah.
Uh, Lola's not on. You know the whole behind the voice actors site, which is pretty much the website. Yeah,
Yeah.
I search
Yeah.
up Lola Keaton. You're the first result.
That's funny.
It
That's funny.
probably it doesn't say though. Oh yeah.
I guess there's not a lot of keys.
Yeah, I guess. I think Keaton's a really cool name though. You got like Michael Keaton and everything like that. I've just always thought, oh yeah, if I ever get to change my name, Amber Keaton, it just has a sort of ring to it. I love.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's nice. It's nice. Let's have a look at. Oh yes, here's a good one. Um, have Lola and Angelo watched some of your shows?
They have. They have. They've also played some of the games that I've been in. They played a game called Knack, that I was one of the lead characters in. Knack and Knack 2. They've beaten both of those games. Unfortunately, though, whenever it came to the cutscene where they would actually get to see their dad act, they would just skip it so they could get back into playing the game. So yeah, it's just like, ugh,
Oh
thanks.
yeah, that was another question I was going to ask you. Have you ever played any video games you acted in?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'm actually a very avid player of World of Warcraft, and I play King Anduin Wrynn, the leader of the Alliance in that game.
Wow.
And I actually played that game since before I got the part. So I think I played that since 2012. No, even before that, 2010 maybe. Yeah, long time, long time. And I didn't really start acting in that till probably I think 2013. Um, but yeah, no, I tend to play most of the stuff that I'm in just because I like playing games, and if I'm in I'm in it. Whatever. I'm still gonna play the game.
Is it surreal hearing your voice? Like, if you're playing a video game and you're like, oh yeah, that's me. It's just weird because you're interacting with yourself if you're watching TV, like a cartoon, and it's you. It's like, is it weird? Because it's happened with me. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I got my first voiceover role last year. I voiced
Oh,
that.
awesome!
A
Congrats.
helicopter going up to Kitty Ride. Thank you. It's
Very
there.
cool.
Yep, and it was exhibited in London, and just hearing my voice on that, it felt very surreal. It felt like nothing was real anymore.
Sure, sure. I'd say yeah. Sometimes there is a little bit of that, but a lot of times, like, I don't know, like when I'm doing the job, I try to put myself in a place where I'm just kind of in that moment. And so because of that, because I wasn't necessarily focusing on like how to try to say it or whatever, like I don't really remember as much of that performance as like it wasn't so practiced that I remembered every bit of that performance. So as long as I'm truthful in what I did, and as long as just in terms of telling the story, I was more focused on telling the story when I was there and just kind of being in that moment. It just kind of lives on its own as a performance. And so if I've done my job, then I notice it less, if that makes sense. Like if it's something that I just kind of, I mean, I don't phone things in, but if I were to have phoned it in, then I would probably hear and over critique and do all this. And I still do that to some extent. I still like, if there's something, you never know what take they're going to use. So sometimes there's takes where I really feel like I nailed it and other takes where I didn't feel like I was in that moment. And so, yeah, sometimes when it's like that, it'll take me out of it because I'll be like, oh man, like I don't believe that moment, or you know, that wasn't earned, or that was rushed, or whatever. But other than that, like I'm able to kind of, not think about it so much. And I think that that's also just because I've been doing it for so long. When it's your first job, you are absolutely going to revisit and critique every syllable, every single note that you hit with your voice. You're gonna go back and you're gonna listen to it over and over, and you're just gonna focus on purely that. And it's gonna be very hard for you to really just appreciate the performance. And that's completely normal because that's your first gig, you know.
Yeah.
But the more of them that you get under your belt, the less you're going to really hyper focus on that kind of stuff, and you'll just be able to kind of enjoy whatever it's in, you know. Because there's a lot of other things that come together that are independent of your voice. You know, there's going to be music, there's going to be the other people's performances, there's going to be the visuals, there's going to be sound effects, there's going to be all of these other things that help tell the story. So at that point, it becomes less of you just listening to your voice solely and hearing your voice in a world and hearing your voice in a context that, you know, if everybody else has done their job, then you're gonna be transported into that world regardless of how much you might be aware of your voice. Like when I watch Arcane, I don't necessarily hear myself in some of the parts that I played in that. I play one of the counselors named Salo, and when I'm watching that, like I hear his voice, I know it's my voice, but it's Salo. Like I don't hear myself in it anymore. I hear myself in the gorgeous man though.
Oh, bless. Trying to think. I've just had a good question. I just need to write it down real quick before I forget it. There we go. Got it down. So I'd like to quickly just mention something, and then just pretty much move on to Transformers for the next, like, until the interview, like, you know, probably winds down. It's about, I know you don't play it, but Animal Crossing. Now I know you told me before your son, your daughter, your wife play it, but you don't. What do you know about Animal Crossing though, given from what they've shown you or what you've seen them do on it?
I mean, I know that I know it's all about like getting recipes, and you can go to other people's islands, and it's really about just getting stuff to improve your island. And like depending on what you do to your island, more of the little NPCs will want to come live there, and you can invite people to your island, and they can tip you in bells, and you can be Animal Crossing rich, and you can go to other people's islands and get things that you don't have.
Yeah.
And there's like thousands and thousands of items that you can collect, so you can really make your island pretty unique. Yeah, I mean,
Especially the froggy chair.
I feel like I got a good handle on what it offers for sure. And it's really just a kind of a collecting and arranging game at its core.
Do they
Uh,
have the froggy chair?
I don't think they have a froggy chair. I don't think they
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. There's actually a Twitter account called Characters Sitting on the Froggy Chair.
Oh,
And
that's
it's actually
awesome.
just someone editing characters just sitting on a froggy chair. Oh, wow, it's just so good. Wow. But yeah, you are pretty much right actually. Yeah, if so do they share one big island or do they have their own separate islands?
No, because then that would mean I'd have to buy like three Switches, and they're already hard enough to get as it is. So
Oh,
they share one island.
oh wow, you'll have to give me their dream address sometime so I can visit on mine. Because
Yeah,
if you get
absolutely.
a
I
dream
think
address, I can just
my
visit.
my wife has a Twitter that she just started, and hold on, let me find it.
Oh,
It's for
that's
that exactly that
hello.
purpose.
Sorry, I'm just waving at a notification because I'm very weird. I've just had a notification.
Dizzy Lizzy Games. So yeah, Dizzy Lizzy Games is the thing that she just started. So whenever she opens up the island, she'll put it on there.
Wonderful. So what did you say her name was? Dizzy Lizzy Games on what
Yeah,
platform? Sorry,
on Twitter.
Twitter. Right. Okay. Got it. Yeah, I just had a notification. Wait, Dizzy is it DIZZYLIZZY?
Yes.
I have found her. There she is. Oh, Gala is making potato potty. Oh, so you have Gala on the island. I see. Oh, I've had a look at her. Wow. Okay, that's really cool. If only I saw that. It looks like she has Gala, who is a normal pig villager. I literally know every single Animal Crossing villager off by heart. This is
Nice.
Gala.
Okay, yeah, I have seen that. I have seen her.
Yeah. But wow, I literally if you have if on your wife's island Henry's on it, I'm gonna flip because Henry is my most favourite villager of all time. My nephew shares the same name as him and he's just precious.
I'll have to ask. I think I might have seen the frog.
Ooh.
I think I have.
Oh, this is exciting. Yeah, you'll have to keep me updated, definitely. I'd love to hear from you. Anything Animal Crossing, I love. I have a Judy plush in my bed. I have a Tom Nook plush. I have Animal Crossing bed sheets in my drawer over there. I have an Isabel plush. I have pretty much everything. It's scary.
Set.
I have Animal Crossing pajamas.
Nice.
So, you know. Oh yeah, I have an Isabel mug, but it's downstairs. I have an Isabel keyring up there. And
Fantastic.
yeah. Yeah, so that is cool. So I got a few more questions for you to answer. So I'd love to talk to you about BotCon 2011 because I believe that was your only BotCon that you did.
That's the one I got the Optimus Prime at.
I was gonna say, so I was just gonna say, I've been reading the page and it says they put on the trivia section on your page. Did we mention that he's an actual fan of Transformers himself? During a BotCon 2011 panel for a Transformers Prime script reading, he admitted actually having never owned an Optimus Prime toy. Before the end of the panel, a fan actually found a G1 Optimus Prime toy and gifted it to him, complete with Peter Cullen signing it.
Yep. It was amazing.
Was was the signing dedicated to Josh, or was it just Peter Cullen's signature?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he personalized it.
Oh, that's so cool! Wow, and that's a stellar lineup at that event. I tell you that.
It was
'Cause,
great. It was,
I
I
mean,
think most of the people were there. I
yeah,
think most.
Jack Angel was meant to be there, but he didn't pass away. He passed away recently, but
Right.
he had an illness which prevented him from coming. Arlene Benatti was Carly Wickwicki, Greg Berger, Steve Bloom, Jeffrey Combs. Love Jeffrey Combs. I
Jeffrey's
love him from the
fantastic.
show.
Yeah.
I love it. Just love his voice. Peter Cullen, Paul Iding, Tanya Gennady, Ernie Hudson because he was Agent Fowler,
Ernie
David
Hudson.
Kay, you, Morgan Lofton, Michael McConaughey, Andy Passoa, Marky Post, God rest her soul.
Oh, it hurt me so bad when she passed.
I
Yeah.
was just
She
gonna
was
give me on
so
to that.
sweet.
Kevin
She was.
Michael Richardson, Neil Ross, and Kellen Goff. Do you know Kellen Goff by any
I've
chance?
met Kellen. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
interviewed him for my channel. Yeah, he did the Transformers Prime script reading. I think he voiced like Bumblebee or one of the zombie cons.
I don't think Bumblebee talked at that point, but
Oh, he just made his noises.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's a really sweet guy.
Oh bless. Yeah, he has Asperger's just like me, autism.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that exactly. I was going to move on. Marky Post. You were the first person I thought of when I heard that she passed. I mean, what a loss to the Transformers fandom. I felt like, wow, this is going to be so weird watching Transformers knowing that she's gone now. Was she
No,
there at any of the recording sets? By the way, if this makes you feel sad, you could
no,
just
she was
say and I'll
there.
move
She was
on.
there at all of them, and she was so sweet. She was, she had such a motherly vibe. Like she felt like she could be my mom, and we got along great. She was wonderful. She was a stellar human being, and yeah, she was
Oh,
fantastic.
I'm glad you've had all those
I'm
happy
glad to have
times with
known
her.
her for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm glad you've had all those happy times with her. Um, it's fine. It's Marky, man. Beautiful. Wow. Well, honestly, I just can't imagine the heartbreak that you felt when we lost her. Wow. Another question I'd like to ask is just before we move on to my big question of the interview. What cartoons did you watch growing up as a kid? Even though you did the real Ghostbusters. I mean,
I
wow.
watched Scooby Doo. I watched a lot of stuff. There were a lot of things that my sister watched that I kind of had to watch, but I didn't mind them. I watched the Smurfs. I watched Strawberry Shortcake,
Yeah.
the Care Bears. What else? I watched a show called Land of the Lost. What else? What else? There were a lot of shows. I watched He-Man. I watched
I'm presuming you watched the G1
I
Transformers.
watched Transformers. I watched G.I. Joe. I watched some Voltron. What else? What else? I can't remember, but those are the ones that stick out in my head a lot.
How does it feel from going
And Looney
from
Tunes. A lot of Looney Tunes, a lot of Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry, I think, was one of my favorites, and still to this day is one of
mine
my favorites.
too?
Period. Like I introduced my kids to Tom and Jerry, and like they ask for it, which makes me happy.
Wow.
Yeah, original Tom and Jerry. I haven't really been too fond of a lot of
With
the
William Hanna's screams.
yes, yes. Like a lot of the reboots that they've done, like I never want to hear Tom and Jerry talk. That ruins it for me. Unless it's like, when they do the weird French voice when he's hitting on the female cat, or
Yeah.
when it's very obviously for a joke, but I don't want them to have their own voice. And like I wasn't a fan of the new Tom and Jerry movie, which was pretty much just a live action movie that had Tom and Jerry
Have you
thrown
seen the
into it.
1993 film? They do speak in that one.
I've seen pieces of it, and it takes me out of it when they
Dana
speak.
Hill and Richard Kind.
I don't want to hear them talk. Like there was nothing wrong with the original formula. I feel like the original formula was perfect. I like when really the only people that or the only speech you hear would be from like what was the other cat, the cat that comes and gets Tom into trouble. I forget what his name is. Sometimes he has a hat on. And then Spike and his son Tyke. Like I like hearing them talk, but yeah, it takes me out of it when Tom and Jerry talk. They shouldn't talk.
I'm having a look. With hats. I'm trying to have a look who it was. Was it Butch?
It might have been Butch. It might have been.
Butch. Oh, well, it might. Of course, the famous meme comes up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those guys. Those
Yeah,
guys.
love that. Love those guys. They're just called Tom's hired goons. They have no names.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So here's my okay. It's not a question, it's a topic. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is the big thing. Right. I've gone all of the interview without mentioning this, and I thought I would pretty much go the whole interview with just bringing these people up. Frank Welker and Peter Cullen. What
I'm
is
sorry?
it? Frank Welker and Peter Cullen.
Yes.
Right.
hmm
What's it like going from watching Transformers and Voltron and like them being on the show to then actually being on Voltron and Transformers, working with them like years later? What's it feel like?
It was extremely intimidating at first, and it was intimidating probably for about 5 seconds because they're both so warm and so sweet and so welcoming and positive and just so quick to give support and compliments. One of the best experiences in my voiceover life was actually working on Scooby Doo. And I guest starred on an episode of Scooby Doo where I got to sing the chase song. Where they're chasing around the villain and the villain's chasing them and all that. Like I sang the song that played in the background to that chase. And I remember I was at the studio recording it, and it was just me. I was in there and I was recording the way you record a song. And while I'm recording, Frank Welker comes in, and this was after I'd already known him, so like I already knew Frank really well. But he comes in to the control room, not the vocal area where the stuff's recorded, but he comes into the control room. I can very clearly see him, and I was in the middle of singing it, and I saw Frank, and I saw Frank walk in, and part of me got a little bit nervous because I'm like, Frank's gonna hear me sing. But I was already into it. I was already into this song. I was rocking it. I felt great about it. And I could just see Frank's face. I could see Frank's face watching me. This was already years after we had been on Transformers together. And and the look on his face, the only analog that I have for it was like Mr. Miyagi watching Daniel. The meme now where it's like where you see him watching and it's like the proud face.
I think so.
Yeah, and that's what he looked like, and I'm like, Frank Welker is proud of me. Like it was one of the greatest experiences of my career. Just seeing that pride and happiness in Frank, and knowing that it was directed at me.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was crazy.
I
One
just got goosebumps watching that. I mean, like, wow. I mean, like, it felt like I was there as well, because you think
yeah,
you're singing and you're properly getting it, and Frank just sneaks up behind you, seeing him, and you're like, oh, my
yeah,
whole stomach has just overturned.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He
man.
was super cool guy.
Wow. That's all I can say is just wow. Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh. And, wow. Had you met them before Transformers Prime by any chance?
had not never met.
Oh, I see. Wow. Wow. So, what's your favourite memory that you've had with those two?
That would be it. That's the
What
one.
about with Peter Cullen?
Getting Optimus to autograph my
Oh,
Optimus. So
yeah.
that and then having Frank watch me sing and be proud.
I love that. I love that. Has Frank ever met like your wife or your kids? Has Peter ever met like your
Yeah,
kids?
they've met my wife, and she was just as excited to meet them because she watched Transformers growing up.
Wow. Wow. What about your children? Have they ever met Frank and Peter or not?
They have not. I think
Oh.
that yeah, no, maybe Lola. No, I don't think so. If Lola did, it was when she was like this big, little baby.
Oh. Bless. That would have been so cool. Wow. I can't tell you how excited and happy that you've made me. Josh! What would that voice Josh, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Josh Keaton. You can find me on Instagram at Space Padre. You can find me on TikTok at the Josh Keaton. I'm also on Cameo, and I have a Cameo profile. If you want to get a greeting or something in character from me, you can go there and get that. And I stream on Twitch. It is twitch.tv/Space Padre.
I'm there sometimes.
And then I think I'm on. Yeah, no, I am on Facebook. I haven't
Yeah,
been on Facebook for like
you
6
have a
years.
personal
And,
Facebook for friends
no,
and
I
family.
have another one too, and that's
I have
Josh
seen.
Page, I want to say, and then YouTube. I'm YouTube Josh Keaton. So I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
It's either going to be Josh Keaton or Space Padre.
Wow, you have a private page for close friends and family. Oh, 25 mutual friends. Right, let's see if I can name them all in one breath. Teresa Gansel, Maurice Lamarche, Tara Strong, Colette Bennett Sunderman, Jim Cummins, Carl Salazraki, Hal Rell, Mark Evanier, Tom Kane, Dan Gilverson, Mark Grau, Tom Adcox Hernandez. Adcox Hernandez.
You took a breath. I heard it.
Tanya Gennady, Dino, is it Dino or Dino Andrade?
Dino.
Dino
Dino.
Andrade. Richard Epcar, Townsend Coleman, Brian Cummins, Pat Fairley, Sue Blue, Paul Iding. A lot of
Nice.
them I have interviewed for my channel.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But wow, Josh, it's been so lovely and fun to talk to you. Wow, haven't been this hyped in ages.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, thank you for watching. Go subscribe to Josh, go follow him on social media, go support him in any way, endeavour his career. It's amazing. I love it so much. With that said, I'm going to sign off here, and I will see you in another video. So it's goodbye from me, and goodbye from Josh, wherever he's sitting. We'll see you around.
See you, everybody.
And
Bye.
cut!